I come from a very traditional Gujarati family, a joint family, and very, very patriarchal. And it was with a mother who was extremely academically oriented, and her benchmarks were either you have to be a doctor or an engineer. Like, I don't know how many of you have households and upbringing like that, but I certainly had one. So I was a loser of the family because I was sandwiched between siblings who were like fabulous. So one of them is a doctor and one of them is an engineer. And so I was sort of struggling to find my place. And a lot of confusion. I would touch a little bit upon these softer things because, like all of you have heard, and as have I, that a lot of people are going through a lot of challenging times with, mental issues, self-confidence, and so on. I can tell you that I was loaded with it. I had absolutely no self-esteem at all. I could not even talk. And my teachers used to complain that, why is this girl so quiet? So it was a struggle to break out of all of that, And eventually I think that for me, enough clarity dawned that the one thing that I was good at was being creative. I mean, the world, I just had a different way of looking at the world. That I wasn't really dumb, I wasn't really, I was just different, And somehow over a period of time, being different became okay. Different in the sense that I wasn't really academically drawn to the world of science or engineering or medicine or some such family-approved direction. But what I was just, I just enjoyed the world of ideas. And for me, being creative was about essentially just being creative. If I saw an accident happening and the glass shattered on the street, I would actually pick it up and make something out of it. I would invent games. I would write stories. I would choreograph. I would paint, and I would do basically everything that was ideas related. And I think I was very lucky that eventually, I heard about NID, and I said, this is really what I want to be. I want to be creative, and there are maybe one or two avenues which I can pursue. Like in Maharashtra, there is so I was brought up in Bombay, and in Maharashtra there is this JJ School of Art, which a lot of you would have heard of. And I went to JJ School of Art, and they didn't accept me, they didn't think I was good enough. And I didn't know what to do, my world came crashing down all around me. And then later I came to hear about National Institute of Design, and I applied, and a miracle, I was accepted. I mean, that was like a huge step in my life, And I think that education that NID gave me was absolutely fabulous, in terms of, I would say, exposing me to a world of creativity, a world of thinking. I suddenly became a person who was aspiring to be a designer, a game changer, a thinker, and I saw my place in the world, not just as a designer, but because NIT exposed us to so many different things. We used to have art appreciation. I did have art appreciation, I wish we did, but we had music appreciation, film appreciation, we had mathematicians coming and talk to us, scientists coming and talk to us. So it had this bit of a kind of a liberal arts orientation, as well as, of course, great thinkers of design, great manifestors and inventors of design. And I think that coming from a little kind of a small middle class kind of an orientation, to be exposed to this universe of creativity was, on the one hand, extremely intimidating. On the other hand, it was exhilarating. So I just, and of course, like, I don't know if you know, but a lot of NID people, therefore, became very arrogant, as did I. We thought that we were, God's gift to mankind. And we all graduated, thinking that we should be walking 6 inches above the ground. So I had a bit of a reality check. There was enough sense in my head to think that, whilst I may have graduated from design, NID and all that, but I honestly didn't feel confident that I was ready for the world. I felt that I needed to brush up. Those days, back in the day, there were no real design agencies, few and far between, only advertising agencies. So very lucky, very lucky that I found my place with a creative director in an agency called Contract. His name was Mohammed Khan. I don't know if anybody's heard of him, but he was, and still is, in my opinion, my design guru. Just as NID is my design guru, I would say Mohammed Khan himself is also my design guru. What did he teach me? First of all, he taught me that I was no great chicks. I was humbled, so I had a bit of a reality check. Very important that I came crashing down, because if I hadn't been humbled, I wouldn't have learned. He taught me the art of thinking. And I cannot stress enough in today's world how important that has become. Learn your craft by all means, but be a thinking designer. And when I say thinking designer, don't be necessarily only an intellectual designer. Think of yourself as a big ideas person. And a creative idea is a little different from having an intellectual thought. Because I tell you, NID people graduate and they are very intellectual. So this actually helped me in figuring out what was the big idea, who was I doing it for, etc., etc. He taught me my craft. He taught me the love of typography. I graduated from NID thinking Helvetica was king, okay, and Times Roman was a close associate of it, okay. But he's the one who actually exposed me to the romance of typography. The world of typefaces. And he made it so amazing that I could get lost in the serifs. I would get lost in the drop caps. I would get lost in the leadings. I would get lost in the parentheses and so on and so forth. And it was incredible. Another great thing that I learned was that I'm a designer, I'm a communicator, and I don't understand language. Everything, as I stand before you today, I'm communicating with you with language. Every design that you will manifest will have to have language. Learn to write it. You have it in you. You're all creative people. Don't think that you should not be writers, that it's a job that a copywriter has to do. Perish the thought. I've learned to write from these people, and they didn't teach me to write. So just being in the same room, I was fortunate that I sat in one room with this man for 4.5 years. And he taught me he didn't teach me, he was just writing and I observed. So a lot of learning happens through osmosis. In the real world, nobody's out there to teach you. You have to be hungry to learn. You have to be very humble. And continuous learning has to be a mantra. So when I learned with him all these amazing things, I learned photography, I learned to direct shoots, I learned the art of making every millimeter count. He would actually not suffer 1 millimeter's mistake, and I'm absolutely serious about this. Okay, if I had made one little error, I think the only reason why he didn't beat me up was because I was a woman. It was really quite the terror. I'm so glad that I went through that. I understood the business of design because I was exposed to what happens when a brief comes in, what happens when an idea is born, then what happens is the great crafting that happens, and then you become responsible. You are responsible for actually delivering it till the design hits the road. And when it's hit the road, if there is a problem, you come back and repair it. That's your sense of responsibility. That's your sense of ownership. And that's what I was taught. The other thing which I learned for myself is that life is going to be your design university. Life is generally a university for everything. And you have to accept the fact that you're going to have to learn, because the world changed very fast for me and the world continues to change even faster now. So unless and until you drop that, I'm crowning yourself as a great designer, don't do that. Because you have to wear your crown for 2 minutes, take it off and learn again, So that's very important. I think earlier also it was mentioned that that's important to do. So make sure that, you know, your head is in the clouds, your feet are on the ground, and there is really, really, really humility in the heart, you know. Because be ready to be humbled by new ideas, your colleagues, clients. Everyone sometimes can give you a fabulous avenue of thinking which will be shut if you're not humble. But definitely, you must have your head in the clouds. It's very important to not lose that sense of magic, that you're in this world of creativity, you know, and it's the one person it should give joy to is yourself. You know, I have met so many designers who lose their soul because they're doing something only for the client. I have met artists who've lost their soul because they are doing something for collectors. Don't lose that magic, because end of the day, you only are there in this world to make yourself happy and fulfilled. Okay? Yes, you have responsibilities, but that's very important, you know. So it's when I say feet on the ground, be aware that every action you take will have a consequence. You know, you have to have a side of you which is very practical, which is actually foreseeing what can happen, what cannot happen. You need to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and still life will challenge you, and then you will still have to be alert and alive and resourceful and creative to solve that problem. Okay, this is crucial. Okay, and that, of course, what I said was be humble, and that's really going to take you places. So I worked in various fields. So whilst I was working in advertising, I also ended up doing a lot of interesting brand work. I actually, you know, I was just telling somebody the other day that, you know, the first Umrao Jan film, I actually done the branding for that. I worked for Muzaffar Ali with that. Later on, I worked with a lot of filmmakers to do a lot of their work. I had to teach myself how to do that. So I was asked to design a magazine. I'd never designed a magazine before. Nobody had taught me how to design a magazine before. So I had to teach myself. I bought, of course in those days it was a pre-computer days, and I bought all kinds of magazines which I liked, and I pasted them up, the pages of that, pasted them up in my room, and I studied every bit of it, and I understood what it takes to design a magazine from the smallest point to the largest, to the concept, to the idea, from the pagination to the printing, everything. So I had to keep learning to do that. When the interactive medium opened up, I was there to learn and design in that. I was asked to design, to direct music videos. I had never done that before, but I collaborated with directors and musicians and actually did that. So I think it's very important that you stay resourceful and you find collaborators and partners who will teach you and who are happy to collaborate with you, and then together what you can make can be magic. So constantly be out there to learn new tricks. And with that, the vision was born that what the world needed was not just an ad agency, what the world needed was not just a typical design studio. What the world needed was maybe a new idea, which was understanding creative communication at its heart.